Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter, and this is Paint and Sip at Home. Alright, so today I'm going to be painting ice fishing, and I'm sipping on some hot cocoa. And if you enjoy this process, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel, and that you also check out my Patreon page where you'll find additional painting perks. So let's get painting and let's get sipping. Alright, so for my materials today, I'm going to be using a stretched and primed 16 by 20 inch canvas. If you're painting along, you can certainly switch up the size, but that's what I'll be using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are cobalt blue, titanium white, burnt umber, which I like to call brown, Mars black, fire red, and raw sienna, which I might call yellow throughout the painting process. Of course, you can switch up those colors if you'd like to. For my tools today, I have a standard number 2 pencil that I'm going to be using for some drawing. And then I have 3 brushes from my personal brush line, which is Michelle the Painter brushes. I have a 3/4 inch wide flat natural bristle brush. Then I have a number 6 round synthetic brush and a number 2 round synthetic brush. And I might refer to these as small, medium, and large as we go through the painting process, or I will just call them out by name. And of course you could switch those up if you'd like to. If you're painting along with me, you're probably going to want to have some kind of cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as some kind of towel for drying your brushes. And down below this video, in the video description, I do provide you with a few additional resources that can help you throughout your painting process. One of them is a link to my shop where you could purchase the same exact paint kit that I'm using, from the same size and type of the canvas to the same type of paints and brushes and all the good stuff in between. You can also purchase from my shop things individually, like the brushes from my brush line. So that's there. There's also a link down there where you can download a free image of the final painting. So you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions down there for you as well. And that's all we're going to need today. Alright, so what we're going to be doing for the first step is we're going to be painting a base coat onto the canvas, which is sometimes referred to as the ground of the painting. So just a base coat. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush to paint, but I'm going to use my number 6 round to demonstrate how to premix a custom color. The colors I'm using in this step are white, black, and blue, and I'm going to make myself a light blue color. So I have magically made my light blue on my palette here, so you can see where I'm headed as I demonstrate how to make this color. So this is really just a soft grayish blue. Think of it as, you could either say that it's a very cool gray or a grayish blue, whatever you want. It's going to be mostly white with a little bit of blue to get that blue hue, and then a little bit of black to get it into kind of that gray spectrum. So once you start spinning it together, you'll see whether or not if it's a little bit too dark or a little bit too light or a little bit too blue, but I think I nailed it on that first shot. So once I've got this, I'm going to use this as just a flat color for the entire canvas. So I'm going to just put my mixing tool away, take out my large brush, and just pick up my custom light blue. And I'm just going to be applying it in a horizontal brush stroke, kind of crisscross type of motion. I find that when I do it with this type of brush stroke, especially when I'm using a flat color like this, I tend to be very successful at getting most of the spots covered. I do, however, miss the edges a lot of the time. Like I tend to kind of skip those for whatever reason. So if you're like that too, you could also just kind of paint around the edges like this, and then you can do that left to right kind of crisscross type of motion, and this will just give you a nice good coverage. This color, oops, I just splashed myself. This color is very good at covering, so it's got a lot of opacity to it because of the black and the white that I used to create this color. So I know that it's going to provide very good coverage. So I'm not going to need to do 2 coats on this in order to get a pretty solid color. Plus, I don't necessarily need it a super solid color because I'm just using it as my base tone to kind of set the color palette for the rest of the composition. So once I have this all covered like this, it's still pretty wet, so I can take my brush with a light pressure and just go back and forth left to right. This will level out any really thick spots, or it will catch any spots that you might have missed. So once I've got this done, I will be using this same large brush for the next step, so you can just wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna finish the sky, or paint the sky, since this is just the ground. So we're gonna paint the sky, and we're gonna do the first layer to the landscape. I'm gonna be using my large bristle brush to paint, but I'm gonna use, again, my number 6 to demonstrate how to premix another custom color. The colors I'm gonna use in this step are light blue, black, brown, white, and blue. And I'm going to premix myself a gray color, which I have magically already done on my palette here, so you can see where I'm headed. So this gray is just made up of black and white. It's about the same tonal value as my light blue, so you don't want to make it too much lighter or too much darker than that. And once I've got that, so just black and white gives me my gray tone I'm looking for. Once I've got that, I'm ready to start painting. So I'm going to have my sky come down almost halfway. So if halfway is here on my canvas, I'm going to be about 1.5 inches above that. I'm going to take a little bit of that gray paint and give myself a little marker right where that right above my halfway marker. On the right hand side, I'm going to do the same thing. It doesn't have to be exact in height because we're going to be doing a little landscape off in the distance, so just somewhere in this vicinity. So once I have those markers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my gray paint and I'm just going to kind of introduce gray tones into my light blue type of sky. I'm just looking to add some atmospheric dimension here. You could even take a tiny bit of black with your gray. So I have just a teeny tiny dot of black on my brush, and I could add like these almost like a wintry dark kind of clouds in through there. Once you've got, you know, a little bit of those tones in there, then you can pick up a little bit of your light blue and just kind of use a circular type of brush stroke to blend these colors together. I'm not looking for this to be anything other than wintry tones, like this little kid is, you know, picked the perfect cold day to go out and go ice fishing with, you know, either his mom or dad or his big brother or big sister, and I just wanted to really take on that feel of a wintry kind of sky. We're going to have cold breath kind of coming on top of this, so I don't want it to go too light. So I feel like that looks really nice to me. So once I've got that accomplished, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first layer to my landscape. So this is going to be a lake or a pond or something that's frozen over. So I'm going to have a lot of snowy appearance to it, but then where the kid is ice fishing, I'm going to have some little melty spots, so you might be able to see some of the bluer tones of the water. So I'm going to start up at the top with white, and as I come down, I'm going to introduce, I'll go white to my light blue, and then I'll start introducing tiny bits of brown and blue, which will give it kind of like a greenish blue type of appearance. So, and again, this is just going to be the first layer. We'll put lots more detail down at the bottom later. I do want the bottom to be a little on the darker side too, so I might do a little black too, but I'm not quite sure yet. So I'm starting with white, and I can go pretty heavy with this up towards the top. And again, where it meets the sky, don't worry about that at this point because we're going to do a distant landscape back there. So I just kind of want to get these lighter tones in through here, like this. And now I'm going to pick up white plus my light blue. So about equal parts of white plus my light blue. And I didn't wash my brush from the sky to down here. So if I still have remnants of some of those sky colors in there, that's quite all right. I'm totally okay with that. And just kind of smoothing this out a little bit, picking up more of my light blue. And again, I'm still, right now I'm employing that kind of crisscross left to right type of brush stroke. And then once I get about down to here, which is about 2 or like 3/4 of the way down, I can start introducing a little bit of other tones. So I'm going to pick up my dark or my light blue plus a touch of cobalt blue and a touch of brown. So something like that on my brush. And I can just kind of blend that on the canvas. And what that's going to do is it's going to start adding little darker tones into these areas underneath the snow. So it'll help to give myself a little bit more of a natural kind of appearance, like there's some melty spots underneath there. I'm picking up some more of my light blue as I come down, and the light blue is just going to kind of help to tie all of these colors together. So if you did anything a little bit too strong in color, just pick up a little bit more of that light blue and you can just introduce that into it. You can just work it right on top. And then once I've got that, I am going to be using, I'm going to use this same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this large brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint our distant landscape. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush to paint. The colors I'm going to use are gray, light blue, white, brown, and black, and that should be it. So what I want to do here is just give the implication that there's a distant little landscape off on the horizon, so that way it gives the painting a lot of depth. So I'm going to start with a tiny bit of brown and white on the tip of my brush. So just an itty bitty bit of both colors. So I'm going to go a little bit higher than where I have this white or this lighter area. And I'm just going to start over here on the left hand side and give myself just the appearance of this soft landscape off in the distance. I'm going to bring it right across and maybe a little bit up in through here. Just using the tip of my brush. I really am looking for it to look really muted. I'm going to put a tiny bit of my gray and my light blue on it in a minute, but first I just kind of want to lay it out where I want. I do want also like maybe the edge of the water area that this little person is fishing in. So I'm going to put a tiny bit more of the brown and the white on my brush, come down just a little bit from here, and then put just maybe, oops, I guess looks like I had a little bit of black on there somewhere. Just a little bit of another kind of line of this color somewhere in through here. Maybe this kind of goes up a little bit more, something like that. So once I have that on there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a little bit of white on my brush. I want to make sure that I have the edge where this bottom one is meeting here. I want that a little bit whiter, and also the area between these two sections I want a little bit whiter. So I just put white on my brush and I'm just kind of tapping it along in between these two areas, something like this. I can come all the way over in through here. I don't have to color it 100%, just giving a nice light color, and then I'm going to do it underneath this one as well. So this one I can go a little bit more aggressive with the quantity of paint, because this is going to be where the water starts. So I just keep wiping my brush off because I had a little bit of water on there. There we go. So just letting that happen. Bring this all the way across and right up to that area in through there. So once I've got that on there, then what I'm going to do, just blending this down into the snow or into the rest of the the water area. There we go. So now I want to kind of soften these back little pieces of land. So I'm gonna, without washing my brush, I'm just gonna pick up a tiny bit of my gray and my blue, my light blue, just an itty bitty bit on the tip of my brush, and I can just kind of intermingle this color within that base tone that I had. So something like this. And that's going to make it look like there's lots of little trees off in the distance that are just being, you know, kissed by the snow. I'm going to now pick up a teeny tiny bit of black paint on my brush, just an itty bitty bit on my dirty brush, and I wiped it off on my paper towel. So this could give me little darker areas if I wanted to add a little bit more dimension in here. So just little tiny spots here and there. I'm going to wipe my brush off and pick up a little bit more of my gray. Just make sure that black doesn't overwhelm the scene. Just kind of pop that in there. And then I can take my brush and add little bits of close-up or closer up kind of grass in through here. So I have a tiny bit, I'm going to put a tiny bit of brown and an itty bitty bit of black on my brush, wipe it off on my paper towel. You could even on this step put a tiny bit of water on your brush, and I'm going to take it right at the bottom of this guy in through here and just bring a little bit down in through here, and then I can just pull up these little bits of close-up grass. So something like that. You could even kind of bring your brush like this and just pull up little pieces of grass. Like these are the closer pieces. And they could be in little clumps. They could be, you know, whatever way you imagine them to be. And I think that's all I'm going to do for that. My little person's going to go right in through here, so that's why I didn't really put too much effort in through there. If you want to do more work on this, you certainly could. You could add a little bit more darkness or lightness or whatever works for you, but I'm thinking that that's all that I want to do for mine. So I'm going to be using my drawing utensil for the next step. So once you've got this into a place that is visually appealing to you, you can put this brush away, take out something to draw with, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to draw an outline for our fisherman. I'm going to be using my pencil to draw. You can certainly use any drawing utensil that's comfortable to you. I'm going to be guiding you through a series of markers. We're going to connect those markers to create some very basic shapes that we'll be able to use during the painting in process. I do recommend that your canvas is dry. Oops, except for that area. I recommend your canvas is dry where you want to put your fisherman. If it's wet over here, I guess that's okay unless you run your fingers through it. But my fisherman's going to be on the right hand side of my canvas. So I'm going to guide you to find yourself the center of your canvas. So for me, that falls somewhere in this vicinity. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to guide you from there to make some markers. So from here, I'm going to go to the right of that about an inch and give myself a marker. Then I'm going to go to the right of that about 4 inches and give myself a marker. I can find the center of these two somewhere right around here, and then I'm going to come down from that maybe about almost 2 inches, maybe about 1 3/4 inches, give myself a marker, and then I'm going to go up from that about maybe 3 inches, so 3, 4, maybe almost 3.5 to 4 inches. So the distance between this marker and the one that I'm going to make above is about 5.5 inches. So I've got about 5.5 inches in height and about 4 inches in width. So this is going to make up a basic shape that we're going to create for the kid's jacket or his torso. So once I've got these markers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this one to here and this one to here using a curve at the top for where the shoulders would be. So I'm going to take from here, bring it over to the left, curve it around where the shoulder would be, and then just drop it right down like that. And then on the right hand side, I'm not going to curve it as much down here. I'm going to bring it up just a little, well, not bring it up, but not slope it so quickly because I've got the kid turned a little bit. So I'm going to take it from here and this is where I'll start this curve, right in through here, and then I can just kind of drop it right down into my marker. I'm going to bring this down to about a little bit higher than this height, so something like that. And then when I come down on the left hand side, I'm going to bring it a little bit lower than this one. So bring it down just a little bit lower. Then I can connect these with kind of a little arcing type of a line, something like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the legs on. So we're going to start with rectangles, and I will of course put the arms and the head and the hood and stuff on that upper portion in a minute, but I'm going to put the legs on first. We're going to start with two rectangles. So if I come back to that center point, I'm going to come to the right just a little bit, give myself a marker somewhere in through here, and then I'm going to go to the right of that about an inch, give myself another marker. This is going to be a rectangle that's going to be about 3.5 inches in height. So about 3.5 inches down from there, I can just give myself a marker and then connect these to create just a long rectangle type of shape. I'm going to do the same thing on the left, but the left is going to be a little bit wider. It'll be about 1.25 inches. And I'm putting a gap in between them just because I want to make these rectangles. We will put the pants on to fill in the gap in a little bit. So about maybe 3/4 inch be away from each other, 1/2 to 3/4 inch, something like that. And then to the left, I'm about 1.25 inches, so a little bit wider than this right one, because again, I've got the kid at a little bit of an angle, so this left leg is going to be closer. So I'm going to bring my rectangle down about 1/2 inch longer than this one, so somewhere in through here, and then I've got that width, and then I can just connect these like this. So I'm going to finish up the legs and then we'll go up top. So my left leg is the one that's closest, so that's going to overlap the right leg a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find myself about halfway up this rectangle, and I'm going to give myself a curved little area that overhangs my rectangle by a bit. This is going to represent the cuff of the boot. So something like this, overhanging a little bit more on that right hand side, like this. That'll be the cuff of my boot. The ankle of my boot is just going to ride right kind of along my rectangle, maybe even come in just a little bit somewhere around here, and then it's going to come down below here. I'm going to bring, that's the back heel part, and then about halfway up between the cuff and the bottom of my rectangle is where I'm going to put the front part of the foot that comes out. So something like this. And we're seeing these at a side angle, so you don't need to make anything fancy. And I'm just bump this out a little bit so we have a little bit of shape to that boot, something like that. So the pant leg on the left hand side, I'm just going to bump this out like it's really warm and it's like snow pants that are just like all big and bulky. And on the right hand side, I'm going to bring this to this rectangle in through here, and you can just bulk it out as much as you want, maybe even bring it even a little bit more like that. So that's going to be that leg. If the guidelines confuse you, you can certainly, as you do each section, you could erase that rectangle or, you know, whatever basic shape that we had created. That'll be up to you. It's not necessary on this one because the paint that we're going to use is going to cover it really well, or the colors that we're going to use. So on the right leg, I'm going to start it the same way with that little cuff. So it's going to be a little bit higher than this one at the bottom and a little bit smaller looking because it's farther away. So I'll take it like this, bring it out, and then give it that little bit of a curve so it looks like it's curving around the leg. The back side of the boot, I'm going to bring like this, just right to my rectangle. I'm going to bring it down a little bit past my the bottom of the rectangle. I'm going to give it that little curve. And then this one is kind of turned a little bit more forward, so I'm not going to see so much of this side. So I'm going to bring it and kind of hit that little rectangle marker and then bring the little toe up like that. So that'll be that one. So that's, oh, I need the back side of this leg. So I'm just going to pull out a little bit of a pant leg, or a little bit of that bump for the snow pants. So then I'm going to move up to, I feel like I want to put the head on, or I'm going to start you with a circle for the head, and then we can kind of build the rest of it off of that. Or should I do the shoulders? Let's do the arms first, because all I need to do on this right hand side, find myself about halfway down this section, or a little bit above my halfway point of my canvas, somewhere in through here, and I'm going to make a marker. I'm going to connect this area to here with an arcing curve. This is going to represent like the elbow of the little person on the other side, and then I can just bump out this little bottom right hand corner to make it look like it's got a little bit of a kick out for the jacket. On the left hand side, I'll just do my little kick out first on this left corner in through here, and then this one's going to have this one's going to be holding the fishing rod. So I just lost my eraser and my pencil. Hold on a second. So I'm going to come up just a little bit from this halfway mark, give myself a little marker coming out somewhere in through here, and then I'm going to be down this curve just a little bit. So maybe about like where this elbow is, if you come across from there, that's where this arm is going to kind of jut out from the body. And then I'm just going to kind of bring this up in a little angle like that, and then this one's just going to come out just a little bit, because now I can make a sleeve, that little fluffy sleeve that's going to kind of mimic what's down on the boots. I'm going to just make a little kind of puffy sleeve like this, and then you can put a hand on now or later, doesn't matter. I'm just going to have a little bump for his hand in through here, because he's got a big mitten on. So that's all I'm going to do for the arms. So the head, I'm going to put a head. It's going to be a little off to the left from the center of the body, and the circle itself, so if I put the bottom of the circle in through here, the top of the circle is about 2¼ to 2½ inches above that. So that'll be the size of the circle. It's about 2¼ to 2½ inches wide versus tall. So if you look at it versus the left side of the body, it's a little bit in from that, and from the right side of the body, you're just a little bit to the right of the halfway mark of the body itself. So that'll give you a good placement on the head. Then we can put certain things, like I want to put a hood on there. So the hood is going to be really just bulky. I'm going to bring it out from the kind of bottom left of this corner of the circle, and then I'm going to just kind of bring it into the jacket like this, and it's going to kind of drape over that shoulder and back towards the back of the body, something like this. It's going to give me a nice hood, and I also want that hood to be kind of like all wrinkled up in through here. So I'm going to go about halfway down this right hand side of this circle, give myself a marker, and I can connect here to here with a big kind of bumpy line. So something like this will give me that, and then I just need to connect here to here. So I can take this and just kind of give it kind of like a downward slope type of a line, something like that. So this will all become the hood in through here, this section. So during the painting process, we'll eliminate this curve and that portion of the circle. I'm going to have my little person wearing a really warm hat. So I'm going to come up the hood a little bit like this, and I'm going to make a big rim for my really comfy hat, my big knitted hat, something like that. And it's going to wrap around the head like that. So that gives me that shape that'll come in the front. I'm going to have a little pom-pom up at the top, which you might want to design your hat differently, but that's what I'm going to do. If you feel like you need a little piece of the hat back here, you can certainly do that. I'm also going to have little like ear muff flaps coming down, so I'm going to just make myself a little shape in through here. And then this little section right in through here that's left of that circle, we're going to put just a little tiny essence of maybe eyelashes or something in that little spot. You might not even feel like you're going to see part of the kid's face, but if you do, that would be fine. And then again, if you felt that you wanted to erase any of these outlines, you could certainly do that. And that is all I'm going to be doing for my outline. I will be using my number 6 round brush for the next step, so you can just get ready. Alright, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the base coat of our fisherman. I am using my number 6 round brush. The colors I'm going to use are black, brown, yellow, white, and red. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-mix myself a light brown color that I'm going to be using as the base coat for my jacket. And the little fluffy pieces. And then I'm going to use brown as the base coat for my hat. And I'm going to use black for the mitten, the boots, the pants, and the inside of the hood. So I think I'm going to tackle my, showing you how to make the light brown color first, and then we'll tackle painting. So I have made the light brown color here on my palette. How I achieved this is mostly brown and yellow. Then I added a little bit of white to lighten it up, just a little bit at a time, and a touch of red, just a itty bitty touch of red. The reason why I did that is because I'm working on a bluish type of background, and I know that yellow and blue makes green, and I wanted to kind of counteract any potential green effects that I might have on here because of the transparency of the paint. So the red will help to counteract that a little bit. So make it a tiny bit redder than you might want, and it'll work fantastic. I'm just going for like a nice neutral light brown color, so that looks pretty good. Once I have that, I am ready to start painting. I think I'm going to tackle my black areas first. So I'm washing my brush, putting a little bit of black paint on my brush. I am definitely going to be doing my boots with black, so nothing fancy here in the beginning stages, just trying to keep a decent shape for them. So if you're going through your process and you feel that your shape could be a little bit more modified, or you want it to be something different than what you had drawn on as your base, as your guideline, you can certainly modify it as you go through this process. There's going to be lots of other elements or painting techniques that we're going to put on top of these boots. So if you know you're going through this process and you're saying, wow, that shape looks a little unusual, the more realistic look of it will come when we put the special effects on it with different painting techniques to get the highlights and the shadows to be placed in a way that will create that 3D type of look to this, or show the dimensional element. Because right now, you know, this foot looks like almost like a sideways heart. But so that will take place when we do the other steps. So then I'm going to do the glove. I'm going to just have maybe kind of his hand like this. And on these smaller pieces, you could of course use a smaller brush, but I'm just going to use the tip of this brush and that'll help me out. I'm going to do the inside of my hood with black. So I'm going to take it, for me, I'm going to take mine from like this little bump in through here, and then just kind of loop down a little area that would represent the inside color of the hood. So you could have the inside color of your hood the same color as the exterior. I'm just going for a little different color so it'll make it look like the inside has maybe a dark fleece or something to keep him warm. But you could, of course, do it the same color as the exterior. I just thought it would give some good contrast there. So once I have that, I'm gonna wash my brush, and then I'm gonna paint the base coat for the hat. I'm gonna do that with just brown paint. So wash my brush, picked up brown paint, and I don't need to do anything fancy here, but again, I know that my brown is transparent. So as I'm painting this, I can, I'm gonna leave the areas of my outline because I'm gonna have the top and the side the same colors. But I can also start a directional brush stroke to start kind of the idea of the direction of the knit. So that was kind of just like a splay left to right, and then on the on this part in through here, I could just kind of do it in this manner. And I'm only getting away with doing this because of the type of paint that I'm using. I use a very transparent student grade paint, so it allows me to layer on different kinds of details. So this directional brush stroke would be evident for me. For you, it might not be. And then I'm just going to bring this around in through here, and I'm leaving the evidence of that part of the hat versus the rim. I also have this little flappy part in through here. Doesn't matter what brush stroke because you're not going to see much of that anyways. And then I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm going to use that light brown. Oh, I forgot his pants. Sorry, going back to black. I just washed my brush, put black back on my brush because I need to do the pants. I'm going to keep the evidence of these two legs meeting in through here. So when I go to do that, the far leg, I'll leave a little separation between these two legs. So something like this, just putting black on here. And again, just following my original guideline, but you, of course, again, could make it whatever you want. And maybe you want yours to be a different color too. And then on this side, again, I'm just going to follow my guideline. But when I get to the area where the two legs are meeting, I'm just going to leave a little hint of my line to separate those two. I have lots of paint on my canvas right now. I'm going to just remove some of this. That's too much paint for me. And then I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm going to do the jacket with my tan color. So just picking up my tan color, and I know that this is going to have lots of layering and stuff later, so I'm okay with any streakiness that this has. I am going to keep the evidence of where the hood meets the back of the jacket. Over here, I can just kind of paint right over this. That guideline, I'll show you how to get that arm to separate from the body in a future step. And same thing with over here. I'm going to color in the arm like this, and then I'll do my cuff and just leave the evidence of where those two meet. So something like this. And then down in through here, I can paint right over my guideline because that's not necessary at this point. Mine is still going to be visible because I used pencil, and my paint is transparent. So I will be able to see my pencil, which is fine by me because I know that I will be getting rid of it with all the layering of the other things that we're going to be doing later. So that's good in through there. And then I have these two little sections left. Oh, I've got the hood too. I'm going to just kind of get these on. And these are just little fluffy pieces, so nothing major here. Just kind of using the tip of my brush to tap it in to this little section. And then I'll just paint in this section of the hood. And I'll leave, again, the little remnant or the little evidence of where the hood meets the back of the jacket. So something like this. And then I'm going to be using for the next step, I'm probably going to be using this brush, my number 6 round, and my large bristle brush. So you can just get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish the ice. So the fishing hole and the ground, the icy surface ground, snowy ground. I don't know if it's probably not called the ground if it's water, frozen, whatever's. This part that our kid is standing on. I'm going to use my large bristle brush and my number 6 round brush to paint. And the colors I'm going to use are white, blue, brown, and probably some light blue and some gray. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to make myself a dark blue color because this is going to be the fishing hole. So I have made that on my palette here. How I achieved this dark blue is I mixed my cobalt blue with brown. So this is going to give me a nice dark, almost like a greenish blue type of a color, because my cobalt blue steers towards, it's got some yellow components to it, or some yellow elements to it. So once I put that, and so doesn't the brown, so once they mix, for me it turns into kind of like a nice dark bluish greenish kind of color. So I'm going to use that as the start of my fishing hole. So imagine your kid to have the fishing pole somewhere in through here, and then you just drop down to a little bit above where those feet are. So that'll make it look like it's in front of the kid. And then I'm going to make just a oval type of shape like this, and just kind of color it in. And I'm going to let that sit for a minute. I'm just kind of tapping the paint in there so it's not super streaky on me. And then I'm going to also use this dark blue for little hints of maybe some melty areas around the kid. Because you think maybe the kid's been there for, you know, several hours and might have melted a little bit around its feet. So I'm going to just kind of disperse just a little bit of this in through here. I'm going to now pick up a little bit of my light blue and just kind of, without washing my brush, just kind of get little hints of it, or maybe, you know, some of the area where the kid walked. I'm picking up a little bit of my light gray. I'll use my larger brush to make this look softer in a minute, but this is just gonna give me these hints of additional colors. So once I've got that on there, and again, I'll make that look softer in a minute. Maybe just pull a little bit up between those feet, something like that. I'm gonna wash my brush, and I wanna finish the inside of this hole. So I kind of want it to look deeper and darker at the bottom, and then I want it to appear as though there's a thickness to the ice. So I'm gonna pick up a tiny bit of black paint to start, just an itty bitty bit on the tip of my brush. I'm gonna put that down in through here, just itty bitty bit down maybe this bottom right hand corner. Then I'm gonna wipe my brush off and pick up a little bit more of my dark blue to just get that to blend up a little bit, like this. And then I'm leaving this little area up at the top. I'm gonna wash my brush, and I'm gonna pick up a little bit of my gray plus my dark blue. So gray and dark blue is on my brush, and this is going to give me this thickness to the ice. So what I want to do is I want to just get it to kind of disappear around this corner to the right. So gray plus my dark blue, and then disappear on this side. So it's almost like an arcing kind of a line in through here, and then I can just pull this lightness up just a little bit in through there. So that gives the illusion that there's thickness to that ice. So something like that. So once I've got that, I can put my round brush away, take out my large bristle brush, and now I'm just going to finesse my snow. So I definitely know that I want there to be piles, like a pile of snow around that ice hole. So I'll put some white around there. And then I'm just going to kind of maybe put a little bit of extra white in front of our kid and then just kind of soften the snow out. You can really make it look whatever way you want, but I definitely know that my main goal is to get some fluffy snow or fluffy icy stuff around this hole. So I'm going to just kind of take white and just tap it around so it's almost like piled up right at that edge. Something like this. Just kind of get my bristles in control here. So my bristles, this is a little trick. Right now, this is a fairly new brush, and my bristles are splaying on me because they're just loose and they're like new and they're light and they haven't worn down much. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my brush and I'm squishing it in the side of my palette. So this is bringing my bristles back together and in a more controlled fashion. I won't need them controlled in a minute, but while I'm doing this little bit around the hole here, I need it a little bit more controlled. So that helps me with that. So once I've identified that as my big white area that I want, now I can use my white on my brush to make any other white areas that I want, or get anything else to kind of be illuminated by the light snow. So I feel like I wanted to have a little bit more lightness back in through there. And then as I come down through here, I can start adding maybe more patches of it, or just get it to kind of transition out into some little darker tones. So something like this, maybe it'll put a little bit between those feet. Don't worry about bumping into your boots right now because we still need to paint the boots. So maybe I have little heavier spots around the feet in through here. So something like that. And then I can start picking up any combination of my gray and my light blue. So maybe I pick up a little bit of light blue to just kind of get this to all talk well together. I did not wash my brush, so all these colors are just going to start merging together. And you can see once I start putting that gray on top of what was that lighter blue that we had underneath, we used a little bit of that dark blue over here. It adds to the tones of the snow. So it's not just one flat layer of ice, which it could be. It could be really smooth and you could have a nice slippery kind of icy surface, but I'm going for one that has kind of like just a little rough texture from some soft snow. So that's where I'm headed with mine, and that looks pretty cool. And then I'm just going to kind of use the remnants on my brush to clean up over here, maybe a little bit more gray and light blue. And I'm not doing anything other than kind of getting it to look nice and soft. So just kind of scumbling my brush a little bit, allowing it to look like these colors are just taking on these different hues because maybe there's, you know, a height to them, or, you know, to a specific area of the snow, or maybe there's, you know, little things underneath it that are affecting it. You can pick up white at any time if you want any additional light areas. I mean, this is going to be all in your imagination, how you picture this snow on the icy surface to look. If it all looks one color and flat, you may love that. But I'm putting mine with a little bit more dimension just so it has some texture to it. And then once you've got this done, we are going to be using probably the number 6 round brush for the next step. So you can just get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the second layer on our fisherman. I was going to say clothing, but then I'm like, well, there's nothing other than, well, he's got boots. But so I'm going to use my number 6 round brush. The colors I'm going to use are my light brown, brown, black, white, and that might be it for now. So, oh, I might use some of my dark blue too. So what I'm going to do is I want to put in place or get separated out this left arm as well as the right arm, and then just put another layer onto each one of these elements so we can start a little contouring type of process, and then we'll come back with some final details. So I'm going to start with a little bit of brown paint on my brush so I can get this arm and this arm separated. So I'm going to find myself this area over in through here where this sleeve kind of meets the body. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a mark there. And then I'm going to take it up into this vicinity. So this is a really bulky jacket. I can see that my elbow for this one is over here. So that's in essence the same kind of height that I need to put this elbow at. And I'm going to have it pretty, like if we put our leg separation in through here, it's going to be just a little bit to the left of that. So almost halfway between here and here, just a little bit to the left. So here's my height. I'm going to come over to about in through here. And then I can give myself just a really kind of soft kind of curved line in through there. That immediately just separates this arm from the back. I'm going to use a little bit more of that brown to give myself the front side of this arm. So I can just take right in through here and just give myself a little marker like that. And then this now becomes this whole arm, this arm separated, and that's the front part of the jacket. So you could even just kind of color in that. I'm going to use this brown again to separate this arm from here. So this I can just take generically, like maybe down a little bit from that hood area in through here, and then just give myself kind of a organic kind of soft curve to meet this area down here. And then I can use this brown to just kind of darken up the inside edge of that arm in through there. So something like that. So that separates that from the main area. I also want a little kind of fluffy part on this hood. So again, just picking up a little brown. So for me, I've got this little bump in through here that I can use. And I also have this little bump in through here that I can use. So I'm going to just, actually, let me use this one on the shoulder. I think that'll look better. Take this and then just give myself a little separation from what's going to be kind of like the fluffy parts that I have on here. Now I'm going to take a little bit of black and brown. So a little bit of black, brown, and a touch of water on my brush. I'm going to add some shadows onto this jacket, and then we'll move down into the pants in a minute. So I'm going to just take right underneath my hood, and I'm going to give myself a pretty dark line. And know that I have water on my brush. So this water on my brush is going to allow me to pull these shadows and kind of soften them out. So if I put a little bit more water on my brush, I can take this and I can kind of use it to my advantage as if there's little wrinkles in that fabric, just kind of coming down the back. Maybe there's a little buckled up part in through there. I'm going to use it underneath this arm to maybe create a little fabric crinkle in through there. I'm going to bring it underneath this arm to create shadow, and then maybe some little fabric crinkles, something like that. And we'll lighten up the bottom part, so that'll end up making it look like the bottom is kind of fluffier. Something like this. That looks nice. And I could even do maybe a little bit on the arm. Maybe there's a little wrinkle on the arm fabric in through here. So that looks good. I also want kind of a shadowy side on the bottom side of this arm, so I just picked up more brown on my brush, on my dirty brush. So brown plus a little bit of water. I just give myself a little shadowy area at the bottom side of that. Same thing underneath the fluffy part of the hood. I can put a little extra brown just kind of coming down in through here. I don't necessarily want too much black underneath there. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit. Something like that. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to move down to the pants. So I'm going to wash my brush. I think I'm actually going to use my dark blue as a highlight for my pants, for my black areas. So I've got my dark blue, and I can take that and say, okay, I want kind of like a little wrinkly area in through here. So, or like a poofy area. So I'm going to just use this dark blue to help create those kind of like little highlight parts of the fabric. I can even start to close this gap between them, something like that. I'm going to use this up on the hood because I totally dig what it did there. So I'm going to use it up on the hood, in through here, and then maybe I've got some little wrinkles. Remember, this is supposed to look like the inside of the hood, so I'm just going to put little bits in through there. Same thing with the glove. I got little extra lightness up at the top. And then my boots, I think, let's wash our brush, and I'm going to use black and white. Or no, I can just use my gray. So gray, I don't know if I said I was using gray. So gray and black are going on my brush right now. Gray and black. I'm going to just strategically add a couple little highlights here. So I definitely want it on the toes. So I'm going to add some lightness in through there. I'm going to add some lightness in through here, or the top of the shoe, I should say. I kind of want to have a little sole to the shoe, so I'm just going to kind of bring a little bit of this color in through here. Again, this is black and gray on my brush, so as not to go too light too fast. So I'm bringing a little part in through here. You can also put like the back, like little seam of the boot if you want to have like a fun little seam at the back of the boot. That looks good. Maybe a couple of little ties or something. I think that's all I need to do for those. I'm gonna wash my brush now, and I'm gonna do the second layer on the hat. So I'm gonna pick up brown plus a tiny bit of black, just to get a little bit of shadow back here. So this is brown plus a little bit of black and a little bit of water on my brush. So this is the seam, or the part where the hat goes into that that front fluffy part. And then I would even have a little darkness underneath this shad, or underneath the hood. So just a little bit in through here, and then maybe a little bit at the bottom of this little piece. So what we're doing is just kind of building our way towards those fine details. So just adding these strategic shadows and highlights, that looks good. And then I think the only thing left I want to do is just pop a little highlight on the brown areas. So I'm washing my brush. So these guys in through here, I'm going to use a little bit of my light brown plus white. So light brown plus white, just kind of, and again, I'll do little details later, but this is just going to kind of start the process. So I'm just kind of tapping it to make it look fluffy. Light brown plus white. This guy too. I'm going to put that in through here. I'm going to put light brown plus white. I feel like I want to do a little fun edge in through here too. Light brown plus white is going to go on this guy, this little area up in through here, because you need the fluff. If you want to stay warm, you need to have the fluff. Something like this. And then the jacket itself, I'm gonna just pick up my light brown just so I can have a second coat on here. So I don't want it to be streaky going into the next step, so I just am picking up light brown just to make sure I have good coverage. I didn't wash my brush, so I probably have a little of the lightness on there, but that's okay right now. Just want a second layer so I have somewhere, so I have full coverage, so when I do go into my details, which is going to be the next time we hit this, I will have full coverage, and I don't have to worry about, you know, finding ways to cover my pencil or get areas to look finished. Picking up a little bit of brown for this area on my dirty brush. There we go. And then the hat itself, what do I want to do there? I think I feel like I don't want to do a second coat on that because I'm going to have just snow on it later. So I'm not going to do another coat on that. The little piece of the face here, if you wanted to, you could pick your light tan or light brown plus a tiny bit of red, yellow, and white, just making kind of like a little on-the-fly skin color if you wanted to. Just put in a teeny tiny little piece in through there. I'm actually going to have some little eyelashes coming off of that. And I think that's all I'm doing for this step. Ooh, I got some stuff in my snow. I'm going to be using my my number 2 round brush for the next step after I make this little correction here. So once you've got this done, you could put this brush away, take out a small detail brush, and get ready for the next step. Alright, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the fishing pole, we're going to finish the boots, and we'll finish the glove. I'm using my number 2 round brush. The colors I'm going to use are definitely black, white, probably some gray, and maybe some of my dark blue. If I use any other colors, I'll let you know. So I'm going to start with my fishing pole. I'm going to pick up some black plus water on my brush so I can be nice and fluid with a nice pointy tip to my brush. So you want to kind of plan it so your pole looks like it's gonna be able to land in the hole. So just kind of go straight up from here, somewhere maybe a little bit higher than your hand, put a tiny little dot, and then give an arcing line right into the hand. So this is the pole part, so if you do push a little hard, that's okay. You're just getting warmed up for a really skinny fishing line. So something like this. And then you could even push it a little bit harder as it's going into the hand. So that'll make it look like it's got a little bit more perspective to it. And I'm going to point that little tip a little bit. And then I'm going to put a little fishing reel kind of sticking out somewhere in through here. This would be different shape based on whatever angle you're seeing it at. So whatever you kind of want to imagine it to be is totally fine. Just maybe some little, you know, the hint of a little circular kind of object with a little, you know, piece coming out, something like that. Then I'm gonna put some little round marks around my fishing pole so the fishing line can be strung through it. So you can have as many as you want. I'm just going to have maybe like 3 or 4, and I'm going to have small at the end and a little bit bigger as it gets towards the kid. So just a little kind of one, and I'm hardly pressing on my canvas right now. 1, 2, I don't know why I have to count out loud. 3 and maybe 4. Let's go for a 5th. Put a 5th one right in here. There we go. And then I need the line, the fishing line, to go through that. So you may want to practice this or on a little piece of paper or something. I'm just going to kind of go, well, let me practice it in the loops first. So this is going to be just a skinnier line going through the loops to the last loop is where it's going to fall straight to. So mine will be a little bit to the left. So something like this. Hold your breath. Put more water on your brush. I'll get it. I just need to get my little rhythm. So something like this, and then there we go. We got it now. And just bring it right through into the hand. And then I need to go straight down. So what I probably, if you want it to really look like gravity takes over here, what you could do is you could measure how far out this little start is gonna go. So I can take like my other brush and measure how far out that went, and then I could just slide it down and say, okay, that's where it's gonna come. If you want it to look straight, and it doesn't even have to hit the water yet. I kind of want there to look like there's a little hook on it. So that's where it's gonna go, and I'm gonna put my little hook right here. And then now I just gotta draw a line from there to there. No problem, I got this. So I like to keep my eye on the prize as I'm going down here. I'm starting here, but I'm watching that one the whole time. I'm gonna keep my hand nice and steady, braced on my canvas, and I'm just gonna say a little prayer and cross my fingers and my toes, get my brush ready, and just connect these two. So we're just gonna go for it. Here we go. Keep my eye on the prize. There we go. We got this. We got it. There we go. And if you did something that you didn't like, just wash your brush and then pick up a little, you could even pick up a tiny bit of watered down white or something, because that tiny skinny line will dry really fast. So if you did something you didn't like, just pick up a little bit of white and you can dilute it or just kind of get it to be a little bit less evident. I might want a little tiny shiny spot on my hook so you can see it, or so the viewer can see it. So you can put just a little bit of white on there. If you wanted little highlights on your pole, you could also just pick up a little bit of white and just make little shiny spots here and there. Not necessary, but if you wanted to, you could certainly do that. On the hand, I'm just going to pick up a little bit of my dark blue and a tiny touch of white. Dark blue and a tiny touch of white, and just give myself a little light part up and through here. He would have, probably that would be his pointer, and then maybe just a couple little fingers off to the side, grasping around it, but I don't even think you'd see the fingers. So we're just gonna highlight the top. That looks good. For the fishing rod part here, you can certainly make a highlight if you want to, so just black and white, and just maybe just a little roundabout in through there. I still see my my center mark here through my pencil. I just picked up white to get that to go away. And then on the boots I'm going to be pretty carefree with. Maybe there's a little snow on them, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of white and gray. So white and gray, and just kind of tap little snow along the edges. You could also, you know, put little snow around on the ground, like a little bit brighter snow around the ground. But whatever you do to one, just kind of try and do it to the other. And I'm tapping it so it looks like he collected this snow along the way or as he was fishing. You can certainly put some on the front of the boot. So again, gray plus a little bit of white. And again, you don't have to always use the same color combination as I'm using. You might find that just gray would work for you. But I'm going to just kind of progressively kind of get this little bit of snow on here. I feel as though I need to do something back here. So I'm going to pick up some of that dark, or no, I don't want the boots to have the dark blue. So washing my brush, I'm picking up a little bit more black and gray because this looks unfinished because I hit it while I did my snow on the ground. So I'm just making sure that everything looks done. Maybe a little texture on through there. Like that. Same thing with this boot here. So a little bit of black with my gray is going to clean up this outside edge in through there. And I'm not doing much. I just wanted to get a good shape. If you want this to look like it's the side of the boot, you can always just shape it with these little gestural marks to explain to the viewer, you know, that's the side of the boot. Maybe I've got some extra snow, you know, within the laces, so maybe I put some extra little bits of whiteness in through there or there. You know, just have fun with, you know, creating these little details. So just little bits of white, like they've accumulated on there. And if you want a little shoelace, I just washed my brush. I put a little bit of black and water on there, and you could put a little kind of just the essence of a tie or something in through there if you, not necessary, but if you wanted to just create that illusion of, the little kid with his Tide boots. And then on the little fluffy parts, I wash my brush. I don't know if I said I was using tan, but I'm using tan and white to just kind of create just a little extra fluff on these boots. And of course, you can make them whatever kind of fluffiness that you want. I'm not doing too much. I think I'm actually going to pick up a tiny bit of brown too, just to make sure that I've got a couple of little spots that look unfinished. So I'm using the brown to just kind of put a little shadow under them, or just make sure that they look nice and finished. And then once you've got this in a place that is visually cool to you, you can, we're going to use this same brush for the next step. So you can just wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish the hat, the little face, and the breath that's coming out. I'm using my number 2 round brush. The colors I'm going to use are light blue, white, black, and brown. And if I use any other colors, I'll let you know. So I'm going to do my breath first, and I'm going to use this brush. And what I'm really going to do, I'm just imagining that, the child's mouth is somewhere probably around here. So if it's breathing and it's really cold out, we're going to just see the essence of, you see your breath. It's a little bit lighter than the sky. So I'm going to use, I think I said I was using my light blue. I'm going to start with light blue and a little bit of water on my brush, because I know that I've got some gray here. So as soon as I put this light blue on top of it, you're going to be able to see that, and then I'll build a little bit of white on top of it. I just want this to be very transparent. So I have water on my brush, and I'm going to just start right around here, go right up to the face or the eye, and then I'm going to have it in a pretty large area. The water on my brush, it will allow me to spread this out. I'm so safe using this light blue because I know that it is part of the sky color that I already have. So that is allowing me to be pretty liberal with the quantity. And you can even, maybe the breath is being pulled away, so with the wind, so something like that. And I think I want it down further. I'm just kind of laying out the breadth of the breath that I want, the area in which that I want the breath to be represented. So I'm bringing it pretty far down, and I'm just using my light blue and water to start because I don't want to let this get out of control. I'm going to bring it probably over here. I think that's a pretty good area. So now I'm going to start using white and my light blue and water. So white, light blue, and water. And this is where you're going to start to see it even better. So white, light blue, and my water. And I'm not pushing my brush as hard on the canvas right now. And I'm just allowing it to look very airy, as breath would do. And allowing it to just kind of travel with the atmosphere. Looks like cold breath to me. Maybe a little bit more in front and through here. There we go. And I want it airy. I don't necessarily want it to look like smoke. I want it to look like air. So it needs to look thin and transparent. So that's where, and if anything goes wrong, just revert to the light blue, and you can certainly get it to, sink into the atmosphere with that light blue. So that looks pretty good. And as it dries, if you feel you want to do more to it, feel free. So once I've got that, I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm going to finish the little eye. So all I need to do for this little eye, I'm just putting a tiny another layer of the skin, because I can see my pencil underneath it like that. And then I wipe my brush off, and I'm picking up a tiny bit of black paint. I just want a little essence of an eyelash. So just a little tiny essence of an eyelash, kind of in the direction of the fishing hole. And if you felt you wanted to make any of that a little bit darker in through there because it's shadowed underneath that hat, you certainly could. So that looks super cute. So I just wiped my brush off. Now all I need to do for my hat is just kind of add snow or any little other shadows. I feel like I want another little shadow underneath here. So I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of black and put a little shadow over here. So it looks like the hat is kind of wrapped around the front of it. There we go. And I think that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna wash my brush, and I'm gonna use brown and white as my snow or highlight kind of colors. So brown and white are on my brush right now. I'm gonna just start up here at the tip of my hat, the little fluff ball. So brown and white. You could certainly use any color that you want, but I'm gonna use the brown and the white until I don't want to use it anymore. And then I'm going to just kind of tap this down in these little like knit rows. So it looks like it's kind of just being lit up by or colored by the snow laying on it. And again, brown and white are going on my brush. And I'm just letting them kind of blend together with these little dots that I'm putting on here. I'm going to put this up here. And if you go through it and you're like, oh, I want more white, just pick up, oh, I just picked up yellow by accident, little white and brown. And it can be as, you know, light or dark as you want. That's going to be up to you. Just kind of tapping this along here. And then I'll do the same thing maybe on these little rows. So I'm just picking the lighter rows that already have a little bit of lightness to them, or the little from my, you know, whatever my mark was before, and just kind of adding little bits in through there, maybe a little bit in through here. These light little rows are going to just make it look like a little knit cap. And then if I wanted it to look like it's a little bit more snowy, I could certainly pick up either my light blue and white or my gray and white. So either or, or light blue, gray and white, whatever. And then you can just pop on these additional kind of light marks that will read as more snow sitting on there, as opposed to a highlight from the scarf. So you can certainly kind of fiddle with that, maybe a little bit in through here. And then I think that's all I'm gonna do for this cute little hat. You can certainly fiddle with yours as much as you want. I just picked up a little bit more white just to get just a couple of additional little white dots up in through here. And then I'm gonna be using probably my number 6 round for the next step. And again, if you felt like I feel like I want just a little bit more lightness on this breath, I just used that. I had light blue and white on my brush, so just kind of added just a little bit more, because as that was drying, it dried a little bit darker than I had wanted, or a little bit less evident than I wanted. There we go, that looks good. So I'm gonna put this brush away, take out my number 6 round, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna finish the pants and the jacket. I'm using my number 6 round. The colors I'm gonna use are black, white, gray, maybe some light blue, and maybe some dark blue. I think that's it. So I'm going to start with my pants because they are under my jacket and I need them to be finished before I do my jacket, because I'm going to have some little fluffy stuff. All I really need to do here, I kind of want to add a little bit of snow on the pants. I definitely need to close this little gap and just make them look a little bit more like they have a little bit more contour on them. So I'm picking up a tiny bit of black to get rid of this line in through here because I no longer need it. Then I'm going to pick up black and gray. So black and gray. And this is where I can start to kind of add little bits of snow just kind of sitting on the pants, because you know how snow just gets everywhere when you're out fishing. Even though you don't even really realize that it gets there. By the time you're done, it's like, how did I get snow all in these little places that I didn't expect? And then if you wanted any, I don't really think I need more than that. Maybe just a tiny bit of white on my brush. Just put just a couple little speckles. And if you felt that you needed anything more than that, you could certainly do more than that, but I really don't think I do. So I'm just gonna say that that's good enough for those. I'm gonna do the same thing on the inside of the hood. So washing my brush, I've got plenty of darkness. I just want to add some lightness to it, and more so than I did on the pants. So I think I'm going to use a little bit of my light blue and my dark blue. So light blue and dark blue. Don't know if I said both of those, but so light blue and dark blue. So maybe this gives it a little, interesting tinge to the jacket. Maybe making it look like it's got, kind of a colored lining if you want, as opposed to just, a lighter shade of black. So something like this. That looks good. And you can see as soon as I start putting on these little lighter patches, it starts to really take on a lot more dimension. And then I can put some snow on here. So then I can pick up a little bit of gray and white and just start to kind of tap that snow right on the tippy edge of it. So this is, again, just gray and white, tapping on the little snow that has accumulated along the edges of these ripples or these bumps on the hood. Something like that. And just little polka dots, nothing really fancy here, just little polka dots to get it to look like it is, definitely have some snow on it. I think I'm gonna put just a little bit more in through here, because that snow, this hood seems like it would definitely have a little bit of extra snow everywhere. Yeah, that looks good to me. So the jacket itself, I'm really going to be just making sure that it looks kind of a little bit smoother. It can certainly be nice and fluffy, but I want it to look a little bit smoother, and then I'm going to put some snow on it. So I definitely want to hit this hood a bit more. I'm going to pick up some of my light brown and brown. So light brown and brown, just to, I didn't feel like that was totally finished. There we go, that looks better. And then maybe even a little bit more brown down at the bottom, just to give just a little bit of extra dimension down at the bottom of this coat. So a little bit more down in through here. So cute. I love when these little people start coming together. There we go. And again, just making sure it's fully the way that I want before I start adding that snow on top. I think that looks pretty good. I think I'm ready for snow. So I'm going to do the snow the same way that I did the hat, which is I'm going to pick up my tan plus white to start, and then I'll build those little like gray and light blue pieces. So tan plus white, and I'm just going to kind of tap it all along the parts where I feel like the snow would kind of just like sit, lots on the shoulder. So just think, this little person has been out here for a little while. The snow is accumulating on its clothes, so something like this. Maybe not in the little crevices, but maybe on these other pieces, maybe just a little bit on this back arm. Maybe even down these little kind of crevices or the little parts of the jacket that are sticking out a little bit more than the others. So in the light parts of the jacket, maybe little dots of snow would be kind of sticking on them, maybe a little bit in through here, and then just kind of fade it down. Looks cute. So I'm gonna maybe just a little bit more back here. While the main part of the jacket is kind of drying before I put my final little snow pieces on it, I'm gonna do these fluffy edges. So these ones, I think I want to use maybe even some gray and white on these guys. So gray and white to add some nice snow on those. So gray and white. And I don't need to do anything fancy for this part. I'm just thinking fluff. So little gray and white to start, and not taking away all of the other details that I had done on it. So gray and white, like that. Maybe even this little part up here gets some of this gray and white. And again, I'm just doing polka dots, nothing fancy, just some little polka dots. Maybe just bring this down here because looks like it's a little unfinished. I think I'm going to pick up a little bit of brown plus my gray because looks a little like I can't see it over here. So just making a little darker. And then I'm going to, I'm picking up a tiny bit of black. I feel like I want black and brown. I feel like I want under this arm just a little more finished looking. So that was black and brown, and a little bit of water is going on my brush. So I can spread it around. Oh, I guess I had a little gray on there too, but that's okay. So that just needed a little more finessing in my opinion. All right, so I'm gonna wash my brush and I'm gonna put my final little layer of snow on here. So this is gonna be similar to how I did the hat, some light blue and white. And I just really kind of wanna make it look like there's just, this nice layer of snow just kind of sitting on top of our little person's body. So light blue and white is where I'm going to start in through here, light blue and white. And I don't need to do it all over the place, just maybe a little bit on these upper areas to just give it that extra fun, fluffy white snow stuff, and then maybe just a little extra white up in through here. And then, once you've got it on here, if you step back from it, look at it from a distance, and if there's areas that you feel could be brighter or have more snow or have more dimension, you can certainly add that. You don't have to just say that, this is it and I can't do anything else. Then I can even tap my brush off and start putting just like little tiny snow dots. I hardly have any paint on my brush, but this will create those just like 1,000 little tiny specklies that have maybe just sat on that fabric, and that will help to break up any maybe streakiness or any little spots that might not have come out exactly as you wanted. This will just kind of fade those into there and just make it maybe look like there is just snow everywhere. Just little speckles of snow have found their place and stuck themselves onto this little person. Picking up a little black to get a little more shadow under here. And then you just fiddle with it at this point. I'm going to be using, for the next step, I'll use my small brush. So once you've got yours to a place that is pleasing to your eye, you can put this brush away, take out a small detail brush to paint with, and get ready for the next step. All right, so we are on to the final step. This is the final step of every painting, which is to sign it. So I typically sign mine in the lower left or the lower right. I think I'm going to go lower left on this one with, I'm going to go light blue. I like to sign mine with my initials. I got to go light blue and white, sorry. I thought that was going to be light enough, but light blue and white. I like to sign mine with my initials, but you of course can sign yours however you want. You can sign it with a fun symbol, you could sign it on the back, you can hide it in your painting. Those are the decisions that you make all on your own to identify your painting. And that is going to conclude this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you painted yourself a cute little nostalgic winter image, and I look forward to painting and sipping with you again sometime.